Good morning, this is Esther Lawson with God's Grace Garden, and today is June the 12th, and I wanted to give an update of how the garden's progressing over the last few weeks. So let's just go through and just see everything growing. Squash plants are growing really well. So tomato plants and pepper plants. Green beans are vining, pole beans, Kentucky Wonder variety, some lettuce, cucumbers about to start vining. Just take a look around. More lettuce, tomatoes, basil. These are my non-grafted variety of tomatoes. They're growing pretty well, but the grafted variety have actually started to go over the trellis that I have set up in my earth box. But they're flowering and about to start setting fruit. Cucumbers mixed with okra. Pretty basil. Some red winter kale about to start maturing in the next few weeks. Tomato plant growing in a container here is flowering and has tomatoes on it. You can see that right there. See the tomato. This right here is the bush state tomato. I have 3 in this container. They're a determinate variety of tomatoes. This here's another tomato plant that about a month and a half ago had become seared and it almost died, but it's coming back to life again and it's fruiting again. This is a Cherokee purple tomato. It's setting fruit. Another tomato plant. These are sweet potato plants that I have growing in containers. In bags, basically. Hopefully they grow well. They look to be growing pretty well to me. These are squash growing in a container, as you can see. That's a pretty squash. It looks like straight neck squash. More tomatoes growing in containers. This is the early girl tomato growing. Here, as you can see, it's fruiting pretty good. Lettuce. Looks pretty. And last but not least, let's look at the tomatoes growing in the earth boxes over here, the grafted varieties. This is the not grafted, actually. This first one here. But it's fruiting pretty good. Look at those big tomatoes on there. Here are the grafted varieties. They've reached over the trellis that I have here. So in the next couple of weeks, I'm going to have to get creative and figure out how to keep them supported pretty well without any other thing but the trellis that I've had from the earth box. Isn't that nice? And they're loaded with tomatoes growing on them. This first one is the pink brandywine. The next one is the black crim. And I think it has the most tomatoes growing on them. This right here is the big rainbow. It really doesn't have that many tomatoes growing on it just yet, but it has flowers about to start blooming. This right here is the mortgage lifter. Of the 3, I think that the black crim has, of the 4, the black crim has the most growing on it. And here is the tomato plant that I planted in my video assembling the Earthbox Junior. is flowering. I think in less than 3 weeks. That's some pretty astonishing growth. This right here is the sweet stevia plant with chocolate mint. Now let's look at the regular garden behind me here. These are cucumber plants growing pretty well. And inside here, like you can see this plant by itself, I planted some sunflowers. This is a Russian mammoth variety. So this looks pretty good. I think the cucumbers are one of my best plants that I've planted so far. They look very healthy and strong. This is a squash plant, cucumber plant, not cucumber, but okra plant that I planted a long time ago, and it's finally germinated coming up through the ground. Here is a variety of squash that I'm excited about. It's a white scallion. I got these seeds from a church member at my church, Miss Pat and brother Mickey. So I'm excited to be able to taste these. These are red potatoes. They're flowering pretty good and they look healthy. I did have a problem with some Japanese beetles. They come through a little bit and did some damage, but not too much. I've been killing them along the way. It's really not much you can do other than what I did was just kill them and put them in soapy water. And I just let the remains lay in a big bucket so that they could smell each other. Any other beetles come in an area can see that there's a danger if they do come. So it seems to be working out pretty well. I don't see any Japanese beetles as of yet. These are my okra plants. Aren't they nice? Not as big as the okra plants that I have in the earth box garden in the front. They look pretty healthy. They're getting some more strength on the stem, so they're well established. Let's just go through and just look at the green beans and stuff that are vining up. I'm going to have to put a trellis up for those, but these also are trellising up. These are also the Kentucky Wonder variety. I snuck a little squash plant right there. For the most part, all of my squash plants are flowering and producing fruit. I've eaten about 3 sets of squash off of them so far. So that about does it for the garden here. Let's go to the front yard. Alright, here are my earth box garden in the front yard. As you can see, this first plant is okra, and as you all know, Japanese beetles really love hibiscus flowers. So okra is from that family. So they became, very obnoxious and eating up my okra. So I covered them up with this fabric, and it's basically fabric from that comes with wedding gowns, that little netted stuff. I forget exactly what it's called, but I bought it last year, and I'm glad I did because it helped protect the plants while the Japanese beetles were coming through. And I looked out here, and I don't see any problem with them right now. So I think it's starting to work. What I did was just kill them in soapy water. Grabbed them with my hands and just left it out here for their friends to find out, hey, this ain't a safe haven anymore. She's killing us out here. So they know I don't play. So here's the squash plants that I have. They're flowering and got fruit growing on them, as you can see right there. And I've eaten squash off of these. This is my mesclun mix of lettuce. I've eaten lettuce out from it a few times, so it's doing pretty good too. Green beans, they haven't begun flowering yet. Red winter kale is pretty, and it tastes good too. Green beans again, and more okra plants that I covered up. And let's just take a closer look at the damage here that the Japanese beetles did. I caught it pretty early, so that's the key. Catching it early and containing the problem early, and don't let it get out of hand, and you should be successful. So let's look at the last two containers. These are 2 cucumber plants right here. They're growing pretty good. And I have 2 Russian mammoth sunflowers growing in here with them. And they're getting pretty thick around the stem area. They look healthy to me. And last but not least, here's my muscadine vine. It had been attacked by aphids a few times. But other than that, it's looking pretty good. So this is Esther Lawson signing off with God's Grace Garden. And we'll be doing another compost tea application, and I'll give you another update on how things are growing in the garden. So God bless, and you have a wonderful week, and we'll see you next time.